Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And a very warm welcome to Monday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. And oh boy, have I got a show for you today. I'm going to give you my new stance on what the future of DC on film and television should be. I have certainly changed my mind. The disastrous box office for Shazam! Fury of the Gods has changed my mentality on what direction we should go here, and it's an absolute change to what they're doing right now. I think what they're planning is an absolute disaster. Now, this may be called the DC Universe Daily. You know I love Zack Snyder. He's gone on a live stream with the Nerd Queens. He's talking about Rebel Moon, my most anticipated movie of this year, and I want to talk about it. I want to talk about the Nerd Queens themselves and controversy around them. And finally, with Shazam! Fury of the Gods finally releasing, I have got a new DCEU ranking, and I'm going to read it out to you a little bit later on, so it really is an exciting jam-packed episode of Monday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. The Shazam! Fury of the Gods box office has shaken me to my core, because the truth is I never expected this film to do really well, but 33 million domestically, I never expected that. I expected at least it to equal its opening box office of the first movie. There's no pandemic excuses anymore. They can use those excuses, but they can't. They can't. This movie had every opportunity to clear 50 million at least at its opening weekend. This, Shazam is the Ant-Man of the DC Extended Universe, but the first film was very pleasant and fine, and families, parents, that type of audience gobbled it up. If you like bright, light, kind of comic booky fare, the first Shazam movie is brilliant, isn't it? And, in a way, we get exactly the same thing for the sequel, but not as personal. And, I think that's the problem. I think there were a lot of mistakes made within the narrative of this film. But, yeah, it's a disaster. It shows you that people are done with the DC Extended Universe, and it also shows you that connected franchises are no longer it. They're no longer the thing. And this disastrous box office has rocked me to my core. I believe DC Universe, Zaslav's guns and Safron's plans for this new connected universe should be aborted immediately. I think Shazam's box office is an absolute red flag for why they shouldn't be investing time, money and energy. I really think they need to stop it at the seams. James Gunn is a solid writer-director. His Guardians movies are peak. His Suicide Squad movie is peak. His Peacemaker streaming show is sensational, about a man who was raised within abuse, and it's got comedy, it's got drama, it's got emotion. Jesus Christ, when Peacemaker's talking to the eagle. And when, near I think one of the last episodes, you want to fucking cry. John Cena nailed it. John Cena is a really, really good actor. He's not just some tin pot former wrestler like The Rock. So it's clear James Gunn can write and direct things that he's passionate about. But he's not passionate about Superman. He does not want to write and direct a Superman movie. That's clear. It's literally came out of his own mouth when he announced he was directing Superman Legacy. Just because you write a script doesn't mean you feel it in your bones. Does James Gunn strike you as a CEO? What's he doing as a co-CEO of DC Studios? It's just a glorified way of calling him a showrunner. That's what he's doing. But that's past. This is not what people want. I think DC Universe should be aborted immediately. And this is what I would do if I was Zaslav. You see, we thought Zaslav was the answer, but his eyes are bigger than his stomach. He feels this is the way the Reddies are going to come in, raise that $3 billion and beyond. It makes sense. And maybe a few years back, that would have been the thing. So what direction do I believe that DC need to go in and go in quickly? Abort DC Universe. Get James Gunn in, say, listen, James, I don't think it's going to work. You being CEO of DC Studios. I don't know what they do with Saffron. I mean, I'd probably give him his marching orders as well. I'd say, listen, James, I want you to make Suicide Squad movies. I want you to make Peacemaker Season 2. And whatever else in your Suicide Squad universe you want to do. That Suicide Squad universe is yours, right? Go away, go in your corner, stream, make theatrical movies, do whatever you want. You're a talented, solid writer-director. Go and make your Suicide Squad movie. Go and make your Peacemaker series. Go and oversee Waller. Do whatever you want in that corner. That's all yours. That's all that James Gunn ever wanted. But he's found himself entrapped as a CEO. James Gunn is not a CEO or a writer-director of a Superman film. You want to do a Superman film? Bring someone in just to do a Superman film, not connected to any franchise or in any interconnected universe. Just make a damn Superman film and get someone who actually loves Superman and has the talent to write and direct the shit out of a Superman movie. And I don't care who that is. Spielberg, Jackson, Villeneuve, whoever. Whoever feels they've got it in them to do it. That's what should happen. What should happen is DC Elseworlds should take centre stage. I'm told all the time by fans they don't even believe DC Elseworlds is a thing and it's just a place to park the Batman franchise and the Joker franchise. But that's what I would do. Just little Elseworld movies, little Elseworld universes that one creative can work on. So there's James Gunn sorted out. No more DC Universe. I say go and build up your Suicide Squad world. Do what you want as part of that. That can be your little franchise, but that's it. I'd go back to Matt Reeves, very busy at the moment, trying to finish up writing the Batman sequel. Apparently the Riddler is going to return in that movie. How exciting. But I'd have a meeting if I was that and I'd say, right, listen, we've basically cancelled DC Universe. Now, Matt, I just want to reiterate to you that I want you to build out the Batman universe. We're happy you're doing a sequel. We're happy you're doing Penguin. We're happy you're doing Arkham. Go away, go in your little corner, build out that little universe. Then I'd give a wolf whistle to Todd Phillips. Yeah, go on, Todd. I just want to reiterate something to you. Right, Todd Phillips. Remember that Black Label idea you had, right? You're making a sequel to your Joker movie. Build out that universe. Do whatever the fuck you want. That's your little corner. That's what I would be doing. And then I would get on my bended knees to Zack Snyder and say, listen, Zack, we know you've moved on. We know you're launching Rebel Moon and this franchise over on Netflix. And by God, has it given us some exciting news on Rebel Moon? I always knew it was going to be a peak franchise, but the plans that he and Netflix have for it are fucking awesome. I say, listen, Zack, if you want to come back, I want to give you your own little corner of the Snyderverse. Do your Justice League 2, do your Justice League 3, do Man of Steel 2, convince Ben Affleck to write, direct and starring Here's the Batman movie, apologise to him how he was treated by Joss Whedon and this studio. That's your corner, Zack. You've got your own little corner. Everyone's going to have a little corner. There's going to be no interconnected franchises. You can do whatever you want in your little corner, in your little universe, in your little world, but that's it. There's going to be no DC cinematic universe. So basically, people can come in and pitch their own little movie. You could have one offshoot movie. You don't have to have sequels, just one offshoot movie. Anyone can come in, pitch their ideas, and if they're at a higher level, that you're in. This is what I would do with the future of DC. This has to be the future of DC, because this Shazam Fury of the Gods box office tells me that the DC brand is damaged, but it also tells me that People are no longer going to come in and, watch 20 movies in an interconnected universe. People are done. Ultimately, it's a very old-fashioned concept. People just want to go to the cinema and watch a great movie. Shazam! Fury of the Gods is a perfectly fine movie, but perfectly fine is no longer good enough. Look at the scale of the Elvis movie. It's not even about a superhero. I mean, you could say Elvis is his own superhero. A big Captain Marvel Jr. fan, by the way. But Elvis, everything everywhere all at once. People are going to watch great, well-made movies. People want to see movies by auteurs. They want to see great comedies that are actually funny. People want to see rom-coms, whether that's about the transgender community, gay lovers, or, straight lovers, whoever, right? People want to see a variety of great films. People, the interconnected franchise is killing the superhero genre. But people do want to see Matt Reeves' Batman 2. People do want to see Todd Phillips' Joker Folie à Deux, Joker 2. People want to see James Gunn write and direct another Suicide Squad, another Peacemaker, and whatever else he wants to do. What people don't want to see is James Gunn being forced to write and direct a Superman film that he doesn't want to write and direct. And this is my issue. So I want to reiterate that. So that's why I came in. I kind of spoke about this yesterday as well. But I want you to all understand where I stand. I'm not here just for Zack Snyder. I'm not a Snyder bot. People saying, you're just biased on Snyder. I love Zack Snyder. I love the way he makes movies and I always support him. Predominantly, I'm a fan of great entertainment. And I'm also a DC fan. I'm not here for Zack, I'm here for DC and great movies in other genres. It's not just about DC for me. I'm a fan of many TV shows, many movies, standalone, trilogies, everything. Big 24 fan, one of the best TV shows ever made. Watching that at the moment, obsessed with 24 again right now. It's always something with me. But yeah, that's where I stand. Because as I say, the Shazam! Fury of the Gods box office, and it's not a bad box office, it's a disastrous box office. Let's be absolutely clear. And people who normally shill anything DC are even coming in to me and say, do you know what, Mick? It was all right. And that was it. And yeah, that's what I said in my review. It's okay. You can have a good time with it, but you'll forget it in 6 months. It may take shorter than 6 months to actually forget this movie. This is not what people want anymore. So if we're talking about DC, if I was Zaslav, I would look at the red flags waving in my face and I would give everyone their little corner. James Gunn, let him be happy. James Gunn is at his best when he's making stuff he likes to make. Don't get him involved in this. You're just going to mug him off. He's going to ruin his whole career because I don't think he's capable of making a great Superman movie. I think it's beyond him. Now, I hope I'm proved wrong. I hope you clip this when his film is released. And it does really well. It makes $2 billion and it's the best thing ever. I hope it is clipped and I hope I am embarrassed by this take. I want to be wrong. But the point is, I don't think that I am. Ever since DC Universe has been launched by Gunn, Safran and Zaslav, although I've been excited about it initially, I did think everything was happening very, very quick. Oh, I'm now running DC Universe. Oh, I'm writing a Superman movie. Not sure yet if I'm directing it. We know now he's writing and directing it. And, oh, I've written pages and pages. I'm doing it. It's like, oh, I'm posting pictures of Superman comics. It all seems a little easy, doesn't it? And a little rushed. This is a studio that's very, very desperate, just like the leak that Tom Cruise has seen the Flash movie. This is desperate behavior, people, by a desperate studio, by a desperate CEO who doesn't know what to do with these movies from a defunct franchise. I'm talking about the DCEU. I'm talking about this year's movies. They are desperate. They're still not mentioning Blue Beetle. What's going on with Blue Beetle? Who the fuck knows? Shazam! Fury of the Gods is a disaster, and what happened with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania proves to me that the franchise is dead. DC is at its best when you give a director like Dick Donner or Christopher Nolan or Tim Burton their own little corner. Superman the movie is a great movie. Dick's Superman 2 would have been fire as well, and his Superman 3 and Superman 4 and Superman 5. He was planning on making at least 5 Superman movies. Tim Burton's 2 Batman movies are fucking fire. Deal with it. They're fire. Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy is fire. Yes, including The Dark Knight Rises, right? Because who was ever going to outdo The Dark Knight? He outdid himself with The Dark Knight, and even Batman Begins, right? DC has been at its best when you give directors little pockets. Sometimes it hasn't worked out, like Green Lantern, but at least they tried. At least they tried. And I'm sure they'll try again. But what you want with these types of films, I think with comic book genre, you need people who are talented but want to make what they're making. So Todd Phillips isn't a Joker fan, but he gets the character. He studied the character. He may have got the character more right than anybody else in live action. Yes, even Christopher Nolan and Heath Ledger. And I mean that. I don't think the Joker's been ever more Joker than the way Joaquin played him. Fucking sensational depth, and we actually get to understand why the Joker is where he is in his life. Fantastic. We even know a name for him now, Arthur Fleck. I think it's all very interesting. I love the fact that the Joker gets an origin story in that movie. But this is DC at its best, everyone. Make no mistake. This is what DC needs to do. DC Universe isn't going to work. All I see is red flag after red flag. Give the best creatives who love these characters, right? You love Superman and you're a talented writer and director, come in, pitch me an idea. Great, do it. Give the auteurs we've got already. Matt Reeves, Todd Phillips, their little corners, they've got them. You know, James Gunn, let him have his little Suicide Squad universe. This is what James wants to do. James, if you ever watch this video, and I know you get about and you watch a few things, I don't know if you've ever seen my stuff before, but I'm doing this for your mental health as well. Because you're not a CEO. You don't want to write and direct a Superman movie. You know it, and I know it. I'm not a troll. You may not like me, James. We've spoken on social media before. You may not like me. You may think I can be rude and inconsistent in my opinions. But I just say what I think at any given time. So I could blow smoke up your ass 1 minute and then say, well, you know, something that comes across disrespectful. I don't mean disrespect. James, your mental health won't cope with you writing and directing a Superman film, a huge production for 2 years. It's not you. It's not who you are, James. It's never been who you are. You are a fun-loving nerd who's talented and who can write and direct the hell out of stuff that you want to write and direct, characters and worlds and groups of characters that you believe in. You're not going to have any fun writing and directing Superman because you don't believe in the character. Now, I believe in the character, but you don't. And that's okay. We can't all love the same things. Stand up, admit it, step down from DC Universe, advise Mr. Zaslav and Mr. Safran to pull it apart and do what I'm suggesting. Give the best auteurs, the best directors, characters that they love. If they've got a good pitch, give them little corners. You get your pitch, Matt gets his pitch, Todd gets his pitch, his little corner. Everyone gets a little corner. Todd Phillips gets his corner, Matt Reeves gets his corner, you get your Suicide Squad universe corner, and we bring other people in. And we ask Zack Snyder if he's still interested. Give him his little corner, because what he does is fire. Nobody's saying that Zack Snyder should run DC. That's never what I said. That's some of you haters putting words in my mouth. That's not the point. So my attitude has changed since the Shazam Fury of the Gods box office, and this is what I would do. Now, I want to talk about Rebel Moon. I want to talk about Zack Snyder. I know we're the DC Universe Daily, but I'll get back to DC with my new ranking, including Shazam Fury of the Gods, for the DC Extended Universe. So Zack Snyder It's been a big week for Zack Snyder. If it's not Ben Affleck praising him and Ben Affleck saying he'd never direct a movie in James Gunn's universe, I mean, talk about Agent Affleck or what? You know, we were celebrating the 2-year anniversary of Zack Snyder's Justice League, a phenomenal film, an outstanding film, one of the best films ever made as far as I'm concerned. Prove it's crap. It's not crap, it's brilliant. So if you're going to say to me while you're watching this video, no, I don't want to hear it. It's outstanding. Anyway, he was on a live stream with the Nerd Queens, who are huge Zack Snyder fans. They're problematic people, don't get me wrong, and I've clashed swords with them before during the release of the Snyder Cut days. Now, he was on there bigging up. He wasn't. Now, I didn't actually watch the stream. I'm just researching what happened within the stream through several articles and stuff, because I was actually in bed asleep when the stream came on, because the times in America are different. So, yeah, he came on there. And, you know, I think it was a charity stream, by the way, for, I think, suicide prevention, which is such a great charity. And if you can give to any suicide prevention charities, you should. Zack Snyder doesn't just fundraise for them. He gives his own wealth to them. And he goes, he meets children, he makes sure they, you know, and people suffering. You know, former people who have tried to, you know, end their lives. So Zack Snyder, because of what happened to Autumn, his daughter, is very much involved in all of this. Anyway, he gave some very exciting details about Rebel Moon. He's doing a comic, he's doing minisode animation, and he's doing a huge game to accompany Rebel Moon. Wow. And then, of course, we're getting the actual movie at the end of the year. This is peak franchise. Netflix and Snyder are really going to school Lucasfilm on how you do a space franchise, and it's going to be fucking peak. Lucasfilm, you are in fucking trouble. But wow, I'm so excited that he's going to work with game developers to develop a game for Rebel Moon. And Rebel Moon is my most anticipated project of this year, because I have an imagination and love for fantasy and escapism with an element of realism too. That's what Snyder gives you. What he gives you in the screen is beautiful. He normally gives you a compelling story, characters, and he loves the hero's journey. So I'm assuming the young female, the main female character in this story, will get that hero's journey. Basically, what Cavill's Superman was supposed to get in Man of Steel. No one can fire him this time. It's his. He created it. If Netflix said we don't want you anymore, he takes his Rebel Moon franchise elsewhere. That's the beauty of this. It's not like DC. So this is brilliant. Zack has all the power here. Anyway, what was going on the live stream was when people were asking Zack if he's spoken to Netflix about, you know, selling Snyderverse to Netflix, those people were being kicked off the chat. So there's a lot of controversy about this. Now, something that people haven't thought about, maybe Zack Snyder doesn't want to publicly talk about that situation. Now, Zack, again, has been very cryptic. He keeps on talking and hashtagging full circle. Now, he's advertising SnyderCon 2, and tickets should be on sale very soon for that, by using his Snyderverse DC work. Pictures, posters, that's how he's teasing SnyderCon, rather than, you know, using Rebel Moon to tease this event, which I find very, very interesting. Now, he basically put out a quote about the hero's journey, going full circle, being away from the normal, then returning to normality. And everyone started to think maybe he's hinting cryptically that he's done with DC and he doesn't want the fans to fight anymore, or hashtag, you know, sell Snyderverse to Netflix and all of that. Someone on Vero said, I'm not Einstein or nothing, but I don't think that's what he means. Zack Snyder liked the post. I don't know if he's done with DC or not, but from what he said on the Nerd Queens live stream, he's certainly focusing on this Rebel Moon franchise. So I don't know how he would have the time to even come back to DC. Now, if he said, hey guys, thank you for the, you know, fighting for the Snyder Cut, thank you for everything you've done, but this is a new, this is the new chapter of my life. I've got no chance of ever getting back to Warner Brothers and making more DC movies. I would love nothing more, but it's not happening for now. Now, if you want to keep fighting, that's fine. And maybe, because he's got a bit of a challenge here, Zack, where he's got to, move people away from DC now, his fans, and make them focus on Rebel Moon, because that's what he wants and that's what Netflix wants. I will always appreciate Zack's trilogy. Zack said, enough, I'm done with DC. I respect that. As I say, his 3 DC movies are beautiful. They're brilliant to me. I will always adore them. They will last the test of time. And what I would say to him, at least you got to make 3 beautiful DC movies, Zack. Now, I'm here to support you with Rebel Moon, because I believe what you're going to do is absolute fire. And that's where I stand on all of that. Now, so in terms of people attacking the Nerd Queens, now they're not my favourite people either, but I do feel the reason that your questions about selling Snyderverse to Netflix maybe were deleted and things like that, I think it may be a case Zack is not happy to answer those questions, and that might be the issue right now, rather than it being directly the Nerd Queen's fault. Now, there are accusations of them, kicking people out the chat that they don't like, who they've crossed swords with. They've argued with a lot of people, but I don't know. But I do feel that Zack doesn't want to publicly say anything about the future of the Snyderverse or his involvement in DC going forward, because it's a bit of an awkward situation, isn't it, to talk publicly. I think that's why he's so cryptic. But he's still posting stuff about his DC universe, and at least that's brilliant, because we've got some great memories of those days, and we will never forget those 3 brilliant movies. Now, finally today, I have a new ranking for the DC Extended Universe, the DCEU, because we've got a brand new release. It's called Shazam! Fury of the Gods. It's not doing very well. It's a solid movie at the very least, and it's in my new ranking. So, would you like to hear it? No? Well, fuck you. I'm going to do it anyway. Right. So we're going to count down from 13 to 1 to make it a little bit dramatic and exciting. At number 13, it's Wonder Woman 84. The only thing I like about this film is Hans Zimmer's score. How they conned Hans Zimmer into even scoring this movie is beyond me. He must have read the script and said, Jesus Christ, how do I shine this turd? Well, his score absolutely shined this turd. Number 12, Birds of Prey, which in my opinion is a much better film than Wonder Woman 84. I don't think the quality of the film or the directing or the writing of this film is necessarily an issue. I think it's the toxic way they're selling propaganda against men. And I think, this is purposely done, men taking credit for women's work, blah, blah, blah. The way they made Ewan McGregor's Black Mask so toxic against women and violent against women and so murderous. It's brilliantly done by Ewan, who is also a propaganda merchant and an extremist who hates his own gender pretty clearly. And I think Black Mask is fire in Birds of Prey. At least we got a decent, villain in Birds of Prey. He's the best thing about the movie, by the way, and what a shame they killed him off. Of course they did. And the way they killed him off, basically making sure that he didn't have any balls after they were done with him. So yeah, there's lots of messaging, but I don't think Birds of Prey is a bad movie. I don't think it's the greatest movie ever. I don't think it's anywhere near one of the best DC movies, but it's a solid movie. And basically, it's at number 12 because I think there's better movies above it and because of its toxic messaging. Number 11, Black Adam. A bit like Shazam! Fury of the Gods and my review for both movies, while you're there, you'll have a solid time. The music's great, again, probably the highlight of the movie. The VFX is stunning. The Rock's solid. I mean, it's probably his best performance, but he's not a good actor anyway. He is playing The Rock in whatever he does. It's a solid, fun, exciting film. I don't think it's well made. I don't think the characters are fleshed out enough. And there's lots of laziness within this movie. But it's perfectly enjoyable. It's at sorry, did I say number 10? So, right, Birds of Prey is at number 12 and Black Adam is at number 11. Just to be clear here. That's my opinion on Black Adam, a movie that should never have happened. The Rock hijacked the Shazam universe and he fucked it up. And it's WB's fault for giving him the keys to the Shazam and Black Adam kingdom. What kind of idiot does that? The idiots are Warner Brothers. And number 10, it's Suicide Squad 2016. Now, I don't call this David Ayer's movie. I don't know whose movie it is. Let's call it Jeff Johns' Suicide Squad. I think that's whose film it is because we never saw David Ayer's Suicide Squad. But despite all the problems behind the scenes, I think Suicide Squad 2016, the theatrical cut, is a pretty solid movie. I think it's really entertaining. I love the Batman cameo. I think it's done well. I love the Bruce Wayne cameo in the post-credit scene with Amanda Waller. I love seeing the Flash in the movie. I think Will Smith as Deadshot is great. I love Rick Flag in this movie. I think Harley's great. I think Joker's interesting. You know, he's definitely not one of my favourite Jokers, but I didn't hate him either, and I was interested in seeing more of him as well. And seeing the backstory between Joker and Harley was done really well in this film as well. So I actually got a lot of time for Suicide Squad 2016. At number 9, it's the latest release in the DC Extended Universe, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I mean, check out my review for a deeper thought on the film. Look, a perfectly fine movie, as I said earlier, but it's nothing more than that. There's nothing really to scream about and say, oh, this is why it's bad or that's why it's bad. As I say, David F. Sandberg directed the hell out of it. It's an okay movie, but okay movies are not good enough. We want more than that. You know, we're paying a lot of money to go to the cinema. We need more than perfectly okay movies. So at number 8, it's Shazam, the first movie. Again, a perfectly fine, entertaining, heartfelt movie about belonging to a family that are not necessarily blood relatives. And that's the moral of the story. So this is a beautifully, emotionally funny movie about children rejected and, you know, united by other children who are not family. That's what the Shazam family's all about. I think one issue with the Shazam franchise, before I go to the next step of my ranking, is I think the Shazam family became the Shazam family too soon, and I think that hurt Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I think if there was a trilogy, which there's not going to be now, or maybe there will be if they're mad enough to make it, I think at the end of the third movie is when the Shazam family should have been the family. Because the problem is with having the Shazam family, you have to take up screen time with them in it to justify them being there, which takes time away from Billy Batson and Shazam himself. Number 7, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad has got beautiful cinematography. It's beautifully written. It didn't do well in movie theatres for one reason or the other. It was during the peak of the pandemic. It was day and date as well. But I really enjoyed James Gunn's Suicide Squad. I think all the characters are developed brilliantly. He introduces Peacemaker really, really well. This is the first part of Peacemaker's story. But the Suicide Squad isn't, you know, it's a gigantic, crazy film. It's funny, it's serious, it's entertaining, there's sacrifices, you know, there's character evolution. It really is a great movie. But an even better project from James Gunn is at number 6, Peacemaker. Peacemaker is sensational. We see the evolution of this character who has been brought up by an abusive father, a racist father, a bigoted father. And this character, Chris Smith, has tried to resist those urges of being like that. And he is a patriot like his father. He's tried not to be a bigot. He's tried not to be poisoned by his father. Deep down, he's a good man, even though he kills people, right? But he's trying his best. And in Peacemaker, we see him go toe-to-toe with his father. His father, literally, is kind of a subplot villain of this story. But this whole thing, the way they do Vigilante, all the rest of the characters as well, Waller's daughter was brilliantly cast, written and performed. I really enjoyed Peacemaker. Now, at number 5 is Aquaman. Aquaman is one of my favourite Fire peak CBMs. I really like Aquaman. So why is it at number 5, Mick? Because, in my opinion, there's better movies above it. But Aquaman, starring Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, William Dafoe, Patrick Wilson as the villain. All a brilliant movie. James Wan, pictures this the hell out of this film. The cinematography is as beautiful as a Zack Snyder movie. He breaks ground with showing us, this underwater world, Atlantis. It's brilliant. The story is very heartfelt. Arthur doesn't feel he should be a king. He doesn't feel he's good enough to be a king. And that, of course, as Mira says, is why he should be a king. That always tears me up with that line of dialogue. But this film is absolute fire, and I love it. At number 4, it's Zack Snyder's and Alan Heinberg's, and a little bit from Patty Jenkins, Wonder Woman 2017. This is one of my favourite CBMs of all time, and definitely one of my favourite CBM origin stories of all time. The first Wonder Woman film is written in such a heartfelt way. She's compassionate, she's loving, she wants to learn about the outside world, and she really doesn't know who she is, and she's discovering herself. It's also a beautiful love story between her and Steve Trevor. Chris Pine and Gal Gadot have great chemistry in this film. The music by Rupert Gregson Williams is absolutely fantastic. I love this movie. And, Zack Snyder did more for this film than Patty Jenkins ever did. Let's not get it twisted. A brilliant film. Now we're reaching the top 3. Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice at number 3. I absolutely adore this movie. It's unique, it's different, it's compelling, it's telling a story of an older Batman who's bitter, twisted, hurt by the losses he's suffered, including the murder of Dick Grayson. He's become dangerous, he's branding criminals, and in the end he becomes inspired by Superman's sacrifice. The world is rejecting Superman, Superman's in a difficult place, and Lex Luthor is manipulating a war between Batman and Superman. I think that Eisenberg is peak Lex Luthor, not like what we read in the comics, not like we would have done, but he absolutely delivers a shatteringly brilliant, compelling performance. I love Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and some of the fight scenes, the 9 minutes that Batman and Superman do fight, are absolutely peak, fire. I love Doomsday. No, the VFX for Doomsday isn't bad. It's just not the design that you wanted. I enjoy that whole third act. Absolutely fantastic. And we get such an emotional cliffhanger because the whole point was it was going to continue in Zack's Justice League. And finally, thankfully, in that beautiful 4-hour classic, we saw that. There are 2 DCEU movies to go. So who is at number 2? Zack Snyder's Justice League is just outside the top spot. As I said earlier, this is one of the best technical movies ever made. But it's not just about the visuals in this movie. Junkie XL. Don't forget, Junkie XL literally peaked with this movie. He had to write nearly 4 hours of fucking music and bin his original score. He could have kept elements of it, but he didn't. He started again. So I'm wondering if the original score for the original cut, maybe that cut was so different, he literally had to start again. But Zack Snyder's Justice League is compelling, it's emotional, it's beautiful to look at. This is peak in Snyder's career, and no wonder he fought for it, and we fought for it, and we got our just rewards. And at number 1, it's Man of Steel, the first entry to the DC Extended Universe. Man of Steel may not be the Superman film that you grew up with. It may not be Dick Donner's Superman the movie. It's Zack Snyder's, David Goyer's, and Christopher Nolan's vision. It's about a contemporary Superman in a real world. It looks great, it feels great, it's telling a great story about one race who destroyed their own world looking for another planet. That's what Zod's doing. It's basically got the commentary like NASA going around looking for new worlds that human beings can live on. Once we fuck this world up, we're looking for another one, as Michael Shannon said on the BTS. And he's right. There's great commentary here. There's a great setup for Superman's story. It's brilliant. The flashbacks to Smallville are absolutely emotionally compelling. Kevin Costner is a great Jonathan Kent. I don't think he's as good as John Schneider as Smallville. I think that guy's peak Jonathan Kent. But Costner's one of my favourite actors of all time. 2 of my favourite actors of all time, Costner and Russell Crowe play Superman's fathers in this movie. But this movie has the action we didn't get in Superman Returns and fans demanded. Beautiful action. We've got a peak Lois Lane. Amy Adams is one of the best actors out there in the world. And I'm comparing her all round, not just with women, but men as well. She's one of the peak actors. And the best version of Amy's Lois is certainly in Man of Steel, if you ask me. And I think maybe they dropped the ball a little bit in BVS and the Snyder Cut with Lois. She didn't seem as... I think in BVS she still seems strong, but I think in the Snyder Cut, because Superman's dead and she's mourning Superman, she's not that strong Lois Lane that we all know and love. And I was a little bit disappointed with that. Not a deal breaker or anything, but as I say, I'm very, very balanced with my views. But she's an amazing Lois Lane. And Man of Steel is, in my opinion, the best film in the DCEU. But what is your favourite film in the DCEU? Give me your rankings. At me, at Movies TV Mad. No DMs. Do it on my timeline. Just at Movies TV Mad. Give me your DC Extended Universe rankings. Do it while I'm talking on the premiere here, or do it in the comments while you're re-watching this video. And please re-watch it. Help me out. Like it as much as you can, because this platform isn't very successful. And who can blame them? Who would want to stare at this daily? I do. I think I'm lovely. Shame. I think the problem is the rest of the world doesn't. This has been Monday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wife. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.